And yeah, so welcome, Daniel. Thank you for giving me the chance to do this interview. I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions about the Rocket Rhino. So yeah, my first question is, what are some design goals you had with this board? Was there a type of rider you wanted to accommodate, or specific features you wanted on this board, or was the goal just to make a good board and this is what came out of it?
Now, the goal was actually to make a board for what people want right now. I could tell that from the questions we got that a lot of people were asking us if, like, for a certain model, if they're able to stand on top of the front truck, and that's what I got. That it was really something that was getting more and more important to people. So we thought
Mhm.
that going to develop a board for, yeah, because we listen to what the people want, and so we developed a board for the new racing style that evolved in the last couple of months, years.
In the Rhino release, you chatted about how the factory crew was pretty important in making the development process really easy and fast. How long does it typically take to develop a board usually?
Yeah, well, usually I mean, it depends always on the complexity of the board, but usually it's around half a year, I'd say. Because usually we develop boards together with some riders. That means you have to like do a lot of prototyping, send boards to the riders,
Hmm.
and Luxon, who works here at the factory, and myself. And
Hmm.
so it was actually pretty easy to prototype because he was like, we would build a prototype, we would test it on a weekend, come back on Monday, give some feedback. So we talk again. I changed the CAD model, remill the mold, press another one, and like one week later, he was able to test the second prototype. So in the end, that means like I think beginning till end was only like 2 months.
For each prototype, right? You mail like a whole block, or like I'm not really sure too much about like the board making process, but you have to mail like a whole
Yeah.
structure thing. Oh wow! So it's quite an intensive and quite the
Yeah,
investment.
the thing is, not really, because of
Hmm.
the way we do it. Since we're doing everything by ourselves, since we have our own CNC, we actually start
Hmm.
with a big block of NDF and we mill the first mold. Then we do some test pressings. And when we want to change something, we can just like remill the same block of MDF again. You just go like 1 centimeter lower,
Ah,
mill
okay.
it again,
Yeah.
and then that means with that one block of MDF, you can actually have infinite numbers of remillings you can do. So that's also a big part of our, since we're using different presses than most of other board builders,
Okay, that's pretty interesting, and that's
we have that
that,
possibility to, that gives us many prototypes and as many changes as possible till we have the perfect board.
yeah. So I was saying, yeah, that's really interesting. I thought that the process would like be a bit more costly, but I think you guys have figured out like your own really cool, cost-efficient way, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's awesome. You guys went with more of a traditional construction this time. Why is that? The micro was lighter weight, had like urethane bumpers and the different construction. Like what changed this time? What was the
Like again, that's what I said before. We listen to what people want, and I
Mhm.
see that weight is not as important anymore as it was
Mhm.
earlier. And what I see now, what is really important is durability. And now we're going with a only maple and carbon fiber construction, which is
Mhm.
actually the most durable construction we have. And it seems to be really important for people now. That's what we wanted to do, because like the Rhino is a board that you send really hard, you go in fast, and that means you also get impact. And
Yeah.
we could see that the constructions like the micro, they are good, but the maple construction is actually more durable, and that's why we chose to go with this construction.
As someone who's ridden the micro quite a bit, that was a concern for me. It's like a really good board, but I felt like I
Yeah.
couldn't truly send it because, I didn't think you could like I could truly abuse it. So good to see that development and that change into that. You've also answered my other question, which was, are there any advantages to this construction? All right, so yeah.
Yeah, actually, there are more advantages. It
Hmm.
is, of course, yeah, the durability, but also it's the stiffness and the way the board keeps the stiffness, because
Hmm.
of the different construction, the board is a bit stiffer than, for example, a micro, and it stays stiffer because there are a lot of fibers in it, and
Yeah.
they don't really change over time. So you get more board for your money actually, because you can ride it longer.
The concave on this board is a lot mellower than on some of your other boards, but still sort of aggressive in places. In my opinion, it's definitely a step away from the usual rocket style of doing things, like really aggressive concave, where you have a specific place where you should put your foot. Did this just happen, or was getting a concave like this a big goal for you guys? I know, as you said earlier, being able to stand on the front truck was a goal.
Actually, the whole development of that concave, it started Rooster, David Boubier's
Hmm.
pro model, because we usually went with the top concave. That means it's flat in the middle and it's going up on the sides. And he was used to ride boards with a radial concave, which is actually just one radius through the whole board. And
Hmm.
so what we wanted to do for the Rooster was to combine those two kinds of concaves. That means on a radial, you have more contact for your foot, but on a top concave, you have more edge feel, and that actually gets combined with the elliptical concave we are using now. And it felt great in the Rooster, so we went on with that, and also worked on it on a different board that you're going to probably see next year.
Yeah.
And we realized how comfortable that concave is. So we thought we want to try that to implement that kind of concave in a small race deck. And so that's why we started using that. And we realized right away that it's super comfortable.
Yeah, I just have to say it's like after having ridden the board for a little bit, like it's so good and definitely one of the best sort of concaves that I've stood on. And yeah, dude, the board has blown me away, and I absolutely love it. So some other stuff to do with the concave. What are your thoughts on like the current trend of downhill boards? Super flat, minimal concave. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I can definitely see that this is the development that goes through boards now, that they're getting less concave. It
Hmm.
makes sense because like back in the days, for example, when we brought out the mini haters that had a lot of concave, huge flares, and a lot of reference points, I see why people want to go less concave, less reference points, because you can
Hmm.
always add something but not remove. If you have a board with huge flares, you gotta ride with them.
You're stuck with
But
it.
if
Yeah.
you have a flat board, you can add what you like. You can work with implants, with foot stops, just like stack some grip tape. And so it gives you a lot more versatility. But in my opinion, it can still be too flat, because I don't want to buy just a flat plank and build everything by myself. I would like to buy a board that already has some features in it, but just not too restrictive ones.
Okay, so I guess that answers the next question, which is, will we ever see a super flat board from Rocket? So, though you said, I guess not. And or do you have something to add?
Yeah, we definitely didn't plan anything in that direction. I think overall we're gonna go with more mellower concave than in the past, but like we're known for having a lot of
Aggressive.
concave or also a lot of features, and we're
Mm.
definitely not gonna go completely away from that.
Were there any features in the development process that didn't end up on the board, like some W or something? Interested to see like what you guys worked through and ended up leaving out.
The board actually has a little bit of W, but just
Mm-hmm.
quite wide and mellow one. We did experiment with some more or different features in the nose, but nothing big that then went away, because, as I said, the prototyping process went pretty fast because we realized right away what works, what doesn't. And so, yeah, there hasn't been a lot of stuff that was cut out in the end.
Do you guys have any other downhill or freeride boards like cooking in the chamber? Are we gonna see any stuff at the end of this year or at the beginning of next year? Like, is anything exciting? Anybody's pro model? Maybe Carlotti's? Anything you can share?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is probably not a secret anymore that we're working with Antoine Carlotti on a pro
Yeah.
model for him,
Hmm.
and but it's still in a prototype phase. Actually, we're going to send him another prototype this week, so I cannot give you a lot of details right now, but it
Yeah.
should be available next year. And something actually nobody knows right now is that
Hmm.
we're currently reworking our whole downhill lineup for next year, because
Wow,
next year is going to be our 10-year anniversary, and for our anniversary we want to give the guys out there something special, like our gift to the downhill world, and we're reworking the whole
nice.
downhill lineup. New graphics, new
Hmm.
constructions, new some changed features, and I think you can be excited.
I am excited. I'm pretty stoked on that. So is it just going to be like basically what you already have, or are there going to be like some newer boards as well, like something we haven't seen before?
I don't want to tell too much right now, but it's definitely their stuff. Mostly, it will be like ports you already know, but with some improvements.
Definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, it's gonna make a lot of people quite excited. And as well, congrats on the 10-year
Thanks.
anniversary, I guess. It's like really. Well, just now, some personal questions for you, Daniel. What's your favorite board that you've ever made personally that you've been super proud of?
I thought about that, and I think my favorite board would be the Hades, because I developed that board in 2011, 11 years ago, all by myself, and it already had some features that a lot of boards later had. It had flares, it has that asymmetrical rocker that actually has makes a built-in wedge, or something that's like, quite common later. And out of
Hmm.
that board, we developed the Mini Hades, which was probably our breakthrough in the international downhill scene, because that was a board that a lot of people knew and rode and liked. So I think that's my personal favorite because of the whole development. Because it's actually still in our lineup, and it will be next year. So but it made a huge development from start to now.
What type of riding style do you mostly do? Like, what's your favorite personal setup? If you're going out skating on the weekend, what type of riding are you gonna do? What body are you gonna ride? Hmm.
I used to ride downhill, but not really anymore, because I'm over 40, have my own company and two kids.
Yeah.
I think that changes of like chances of injuries and stuff. But I still skate almost every day. That's why most of my favorite boards are the classic Scout, or I do some occasional long distance pumping, pushing. So
Hmm.
ride a lot. I ride our Exodus, our Moray, our Rambler. These are my go-to boards currently.
And yeah, so that's pretty much it from me in terms of this interview. And I just want to say I've ridden a lot of boards, small downhill boards, but the Rhino feels so perfect under my feet, man. And thanks for making it and sending it to me to review.
You're welcome.
I'm going to be skating it a lot. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Any information? Anything you wanted to let people know?
I think I just want to say thanks to everybody who got the Rhino, because
Hmm.
we released it a month ago and we already sold quite a couple of them. And it's not just that part; it's also that the feedback was really amazing. It seems that people really like the board. That
Hmm.
makes us happy because we put a lot of time and effort in it. I mean, less time than we had in other developments of boards, but still, it's another baby we brought out there, and it was really well received. So I'm super happy. So thank you very much, guys.
So what? Okay, so before before we finish, what sort of feedback are you getting? What are people saying? Like, what are some common comments?
You hear a lot that like people say, "Oh, you read my thoughts or you read my mind," because it
Hmm.
seems that like that's the Rhino brings a lot of things and features that people are looking for right now. There are a few companies who have boards like that, but not many. So
Hmm.
yeah, it seems that we just like brought out the right board to the right time.
I'll definitely. I'm still in the process of writing the review, or rather thinking my thoughts about the board. But I will let you know if I have any other questions. And I guess that's it from me. So yeah, thank
Great,
you once again.
you're welcome. Thanks for doing the review.
No worries, man. Uh, all right.